So yeah, this is for this PMA, the Operate Local Control Systems module. And basically what we're trying to do is, this has got to be sort of tied into your numeracy and reading levels. So if you just have a look at that one there, oh, you don't have that one there, do you? So we basically worked through these. We did those tests before last trip when we checked the numeracy and reading levels. So we've had to then line up with this PMA to make sure you guys are at the correct standard, and you are. Congratulations. So, and then part of this, we've got to go through 2 instructional strategies. So it's going to be pretty informal. So we're just going to use the resources there. We've got the schematics, and then also got the startup after trip, and also that assessment resource. The assessment resource, in a way, though, is just going to be like having a conversation about it. You don't have to write anything down, but that just ties in with what we're trying to do with the instructional strategies and assessment strategies. So instructional, yeah. So we encourage you just to go through that the procedure, and we'll try and link some paragraphs to other sections. So like the front end of that procedure, obviously you've got some safety concerns, and you've got to sort of try and tie it in with the steps you're doing down the track. Then we'll sort of go through the assessment as just openly discuss, try and answer those questions. And then through the assessment will be done, so we're going to go by what they call a diagnostic assessment. So just through the discussion we work out whether you're competent or not. And then the second one was demonstrate on site. So we're probably obviously not going to go out there and do that as part of this, but we'll obviously have got your procedures from the shutdown already, and we know you've done it anyway, so that would be the second part of the assessment. So yeah, and then the resources, like I already said, you've got the procedure, you've got the assessment resource, and the schematics for that. And then at the end of it all, just get you to fill out that training evaluation form as well. Righto. So we just start off with the expander procedure startup. You see I've just gone through and highlighted some areas that we're going to discuss. So we're not going to go through the whole procedure. We just picked out some bits in the overview, and then you try and time in down there. We use the schematic just to make sure that you can sort of run through it. So yeah, with that first section there, you've got the energy absorbed through the expanded turbine is used to drive the compressor. So just using that schematic, do you want to just run through how, probably for you guys, like I'm sort of presuming you're all you've got a good idea with the schematic. So when we talk about energy absorbed through the expanded turbine is used to drive the compressor, how you sort of, are you able to sort of explain that in a sort of an open discussion on how you see that working? Kick us off.
Well, basically, as the incoming gas depressures through the turbine wheel, it spins it and compresses the gas.
6,800 empathy drops down to empathy is a word.
Right. Enthalpy? Enthalpy. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, energy absorbed, energy used in the expander spinning the compressor. Yeah.
So the molecules on that will expand, and as it expands, it gets cooler and starts dropping liquids out. It goes to the tower.
Yeah. Yeah. Through the tray.
By doing that, then, like Doug said, the energy out of that drives the compressor on the other side.
Yeah. Cool. And then the next little bit in that section there, I've just got and this is stuff that I don't actually know that well because it's more outside. So each expander compressor is fitted with seal gas pressuring system and serviced by an independent lube system.
Yep.
Oils.
Correct, yeah.
So just in terms of that, that's in the overview. So just working through this procedure, do you know where else it's mentioned in terms of either major hazards or later on in the procedure, where so if you just sort of flick through and
What the
in terms of how that seal system and the hazards that go with it and how you operate it?
Yeah. So
It's in there. It's a step that you've got to before you even put the
Yeah, you get into the
expander on.
low boil
So
tank.
Yeah.
If you're not careful.
So just for the purpose, this is just where we sort of tie
Step
that knowledge
7.
up there to where where it is found, because obviously it's going to be written completely different later on.
eventually you're going to have a sealing system. If you haven't got a sealing system, then the processed gas will escape the atmosphere or to the tank. So the sealing system is sales gas, so you've got to put that on so it seals up the processed gas and coming out through tanks, through seals, through the atmosphere. So it's a integral step of this procedure that we've got to put that on.
Yeah. So, actual, can you just point us in the procedure where you actually would do that step?
It's got
So, straight away. It's
Probably
pretty quick.
It's mentioned a couple of times, I think. So there is a little note in the major hazards that obviously mention what we're talking about. But also then there's a step. So you correct me if I'm wrong, but underneath, so the note underneath step 10 sort of talks about some of the pressures that you've got.
Yeah, usually after a trip you'll shut that pretty quick. Otherwise you do get that DP and it makes it a hassle to get going again. So especially if it's going to be shut, if you can get it going quick enough, right? But
Okay. Right, I think is that the only place that's sort of touched on there. There are the major hazards. I think there's nowhere else.
it's just that and the major hazards at the front.
Okay. All right. No worries. Just move along to the next little bit. So if you go to just step number 9, we might just run through that. It's probably a little bit hard because I've just realised that I haven't got the tag numbers on the schematic, but do you guys sort of have a bit of an idea in terms of speeding that up, in terms of which one we would put in manual first, v auto? I don't know whether you possibly had a lot of exposure, so
we used to run it out there
you did
manually before you took it over in the DCS.
Oh, okay, so
we used to do all that
Yeah,
manually
right.
and used it, but we didn't have control of the JT. We had control of the actual expander compressor on the inlet guide lanes, so we could operate those outside independently with you winding the JT down as we wind the expander. That was in manual, and then we got to a certain stage where your JT was down and we were up flowing. We would put that into auto, then you would do your property cascade and put it into
drive the rest. Okay.
But now it's different.
take the fun out of being outside.
Would you stay out there longer?
Winding up the big turbo.
Yeah, okay. So just have a look through that schematic there. So obviously that up the top there's our flow, which is the main driver for obviously our throughput on the train. So, and that's going to determine the speed of the expander. But yeah, it's probably because it obviously references tag numbers in there. So because it's schematic, I haven't printed them out. It's because the printer in there is knackered. So that's why I don't have it. And then probably just one other, just working through this procedure still. Step 18. So it just touches on dual mode. So just working through that schematic again. You want to have a go at explaining what dual mode and what it looked like in terms of that schematic?
Well, dual mode is what it's saying, that it's split between the JT and all the expander compressor. You're probably not getting the efficiency out of it by going this mode. You're not getting the recovery out of it as well. So it's not an ideal situation to put it in because you're losing efficiency all the way through and liquid recovery. The only thing probably why you do it is that you may be, with the machines being old with vibration, you may be pushing it up to the max limit, so we bring it down. It's like half, what I always call like a half speed.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're nursing it through.
No, that's right.
But,
I think we're doing it with B still. So can can you guys, just for the sake of this exercise, do you, I don't know whether you how familiar you are with this schematic, but what it looks like when you're in JT mode?
Well, that's the JT valve there.
Yep.
So basically, to put it in dual mode, you call up the UC. He'll shut his valve in.
Yep.
Okay. Then you'll just basically push the E-stop out there, which opens up the UV.
Yep.
And matches.
Yeah. So basically, you've got those two legs open. So. No worries. All right. So that's it for just going through that procedure.
And if that trips as well while it's in JT, you've still got control over the JT valve to blow it open to whatever
that will
percentage
open,
that you should
Yes.
to. So it's all
Yeah.
still
And that's
above
when we actually do that changeover, we minimise how long we've got that in manual. Because
That's right,
if
yeah.
it all goes pear-shaped,
Yep, you got no.
Once they get in the
gases
step 3, it takes us a while to do. Because it's in the marshalling station.
Yeah,
We've
right.
got to put it in step 3, and then we've got to walk outside. That's a critical point because then you've got
It's not there.
nothing on your JT because it's closed.
Yeah. All right, and so just with this assessment, so same sort of thing again. If you could just, so the first question, just some of the trip functions that relate to the expander.
Or virtually one, well, there's one there, just the cold separator.
Yep.
Level. If that goes over the top, then we can have carryover, and
Yep.
then that can damage the blading.
Overspeed.
Overspeed? Do we have overspeed?
17,000.
Probably because it's always vibration and gets us.
17,000.
Vibrations. Yeah, we've get us before that happens. But
Yeah.
17,000.
You never know.
Yeah,
At
something
least
like
around 17,000.
Yeah, 70.
Yep.
lube oil pressure.
Vibration,
Yep.
Vibration,
high
yeah.
lube oil temp.
And then you get the differential for seal gas, lube oil.
Yep.
You got,
So you seal oil as well. Yeah. All right, that's probably
it's probably the main one.
that's enough, yeah.
It's what you do, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get your differential
On the-
across
on
them,
the-
and then they'll just cut you out if one
Yep.
lube oil's less than the seal gas and seal.
DB, yeah, okay. All right. So the function of the expanded compressor, Rob, you were sort of talking a bit about it before, explain the effect. So what would be probably the main effect once we lose that expander with just JT? What would like the UC expect to see
You see, probably
in terms of probably production?
production,
Sorry,
less ethane.
less ethane.
Yeah, less ethane. Also, that the resi, then you've got to use more fuel gas because that 200
You're not
kPa,
pumping it up,
what
yeah.
it is,
Yeah.
then it's got to drive it more, so you'll be pushing that harder. So it'll be more
Yeah.
fuel gas,
All right, no worries.
and then you might have to put it all through the other train as well.
Yep.
So you load it up. It's about money, isn't it?
It's about money. So that next question, explain the function of the control level expander. I think we've probably gone over that a few times as well. Everyone looking for time here.
6 minutes.
I'm going to run out of stuff to talk about in a minute.
Maybe not.
All right, so can we just run through, and we've obviously got the procedure there, so we picked out little bits, if we can just run through, say, the normal startup, step sort of mode, without obviously going into all the detail, but
Prerequisites. You get all your UVs and all your line up right. Start the lube oil system. Introduce pressure.
these, yeah. So obviously this is startup after trip, this particular one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry.
So
Yeah,
first
depends
thing
on
is
where
find
you
out
want
what trip.
Yeah. Well, you get it into step
Well,
one,
firstly, you want to
start
find out what the actual trip was
Yep.
and see if you can remember,
Yeah.
remember
Get
the
it
trip.
into- get it into
Sometimes,
step one.
if you can,
Find the trip.
if you can't get it in the step 1, then you've got to do some other means outside.
Yep.
And that can hold you out. Any of the trips can hold you out. So you've got to satisfy those trips before you can get back into step 1. If I
Yep.
can't, then I've got to depressure that fairly quickly, that unit, because lube oil, or depends on the pressures, it can escape from the expander side because that's sitting at 6,000. Into
Yep.
the low pressure side 3,000. Into the seals which are 4,000, and I can have oil going elsewhere, which I don't like. So, but there's certain things that the company's done over the years. We can do that a bit better now than what we used to do, and go to flare or go back into the tower with a bypass because we never ever had that before. We struggled early days with the expander, so that's why you sort of got on your bike quickly and see about like Andrew saying, get it into step one if we can. If you couldn't get it into step one, then you'd have to make some other moves, and if you couldn't get that, then we would depressure the whole lot, so save oil go on the roof.
Yeah. Right. So that's working out what the trip was for, and how quickly you're going to turn it around, and then the next step. So re-establish.
Yes, like I said, put it into step one, and step one gives us a bit of breathing space. That means just the expander compressor UVs. That's the only valves which are still closed.
Yeah.
Everything else is opened up and balanced out. To a certain extent with the pressure.
Inlet UVs.
Yeah. On the expander side.
All right. And then where do we move to after that?
And virtually after that, depends on how detailed you want to go. If we do start it, then we'll probably the screen may knock us out. The inlet screen on the expander because of the pressure, because as soon as we open that, 2 UVs are supposed to go reasonably slow, but they don't. They open up quickly on 6,000, we'll hit that screen, and then we'll go out on a trip. So that's why we have isolated if you can. Yeah. Or if you're real lucky, open up the XVs and shut the MOV. Shut the MOV first, and then I've done that before. That may get us over.
Yeah.
But the UV struggles because it's 6,000, 3,000 DP across it. Not a good
Don't
idea.
like high DP. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why it's not the procedure.
Right. Okay. That's all right. Okay, so that sort of takes us up to, if we have a look at that procedure, you're sort of up to about step 8 at that point. Would that be right? Before you get the UC involved?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, that would be very, very close to where we, yep.
All right, and then from there...
Once you're all sorted, step 12, pull the unit, controller.
Yeah.
Do that DP gauge, and then it's up to the unit controller, he gets it all spinning away, and then we just check everything after it's going.
Yeah, up and running.
Yep. Go back to the control room.
It does take a bit of time to get that though, doesn't it? Really? It depends on who's sitting on the DCS as well.
Yeah.
Some people pick it up quicker than other people, and other people
Once it's up, you've got to get it into step 3 as well. So
And if you think back too, so is there anything else there more process related that
Okay, I found this on the web for is there anything else that process related? Check it out.
Thanks. Anything process related that it doesn't always happen, but something else that obviously we've warmed up the train, so there's a liquid make starts to drop away a little bit. So is there anything else that we can think of that we might have to?
low level and
cold set.
Yeah.
It's more so the noises and whatever too, because you're winding it up.
Oh, right.
5,000 to whatever speed you want. So we're sitting right next door to that.
Yeah.
In here you don't hear anything at all, but we got a good sense that we know when. As soon as we hear the NRV go clunk, then we know that we're flowing the process. So you don't hear that in here, but that's a thing that's saying, hey, we're online now.
Yeah.
You are. The compressor is pumping.
Yeah. Rather
than the bypass around the compressor side.
Yeah.
So that's something that you don't hear, but we hear like noises.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's just a thing, just like operating it, just with the sensors.
Yeah.
Especially when something rotates that fast, there's where we go, whoa.
just do a little bit more. So using the local control panel, well, I think we've probably covered off on that, and any sort of variables we probably covered off on that too. So just probably should have gone through.
Where you get it, it's like it says in here, step 22, is that once it's online, you just want to go back and just check it.
Yeah.
On a bit of a basis. So then,
yeah,
if something's not right, depends on the trip condition too.
Yeah. Just going back. Sorry, I probably should have run you through this. The PMA, so OPS216 operate local control system. So this is one of the sort of recognised training modules listed on the site. I forget the name of it again. If you were to go through there, I think you can probably see that like doing a task like that lines up pretty well with what you're doing out there. So like it's really set up. These are actually quite good with the performance criteria and the elements involved. So that was that's part of this course is what you were aiming for anyway to get signed off for accreditation of this. I don't know whether this might even be already in your. Is this in the Cert 4? It's probably been a while since you've done it anyway.
Yeah, I think it is.
But anyway, that was obviously I should have said that at the beginning. That's what I was sort of leading through. And if you were to go through that, you can see that it actually lines up pretty well with what you guys have done already. All right. So, any other questions? Probably not. I think that was pretty thorough.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming along. We'll finish up there, and I'll just get you to do those evaluation forms and go from there.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Adam.